Hello everyone, my name is Marcus G. Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and give this video a like up. The first episodes of Chicago Fire Season 12 have been building up to Sylvie Brett's departure, and Season 12, Episode 5, On the Book, is a nice fake-out. With Kara Kilmer's departure from the NBC series official, it's up to the writers to provide a satisfactory explanation for Brett's departure from Firehouse 51. Brett's engagement to Matthew Casey has already been confirmed, but there's nothing stopping Chicago Fire from messing around with the fans first. On the Hook also provides some essential background information on Derek Gibson, the Firehouse's newest arrival. Gibson is supposed to fill the vacuum left by another departure, but the character has remained stoic from his introduction, making him difficult to connect with. Brett's tale develops into a subplot for Gibson, giving him additional shade and allowing Rome Flynn to demonstrate greater versatility. The audience will decide whether or not it is successful, but both the character and the performer deserve an A for their efforts. Kid is injured while assisting patients and nurses trapped in a hospital during the Chicago fire. Clipped, On the Hook depicts Sylvie Brett's difficult period. The episode begins the day after her bachelorette party, when she has just finished interviewing for a position at the Portland Fire Department. But when Ambulance 61's defibrillator fails in the field, her entire future is put in peril. The writing takes a while to get its footing here, as once Chief Robinson, guest star Laura Allen, threatens Brett with suspension. The episode feels more concerned with saving Brett's job than the basketball player who is still in the hospital. The Chicago Fire crowd is clearly invested in Brett, but the most important aspect of the scenario is that a young man named Jared may die or suffer permanent neurological damage for the rest of his life. However, Kara Kilmer's performance does a lot to alleviate this kink. Brett expresses concern for the patient, telling her partner Violet Makami, "I hate to think of him being in this condition." And Kilmer expresses her concern in a later scene when Ambulance 61 is summoned back to the hospital where they transported the player. This situation also demonstrates why Chicago Fire's decision to assassinate Evan Hawkins was a mistake. Robinson is a typical antagonist, displaying no empathy until the episode's end, when it is revealed that dried-out gel pads caused the defibrillator to malfunction. While much of Hawkins' screen time focused on his relationship with Violet, it was clear that he wished to encourage the paramedics under his command. Chicago Fire's tendency of mixing things around has kept the show interesting, but it occasionally bites the series when the writers get rid of a character they genuinely need. Robinson's moments confirm Hawkins was one of those vital characters. However, due of Kilmer's impending departure, On the Book contains just enough suspense to avoid feeling like artificial jeopardy. There is a slight probability that her story arc will conclude with her making a mistake and having to start over, which she is already doing due to the wedding. On the Hook also mixes that up, with Tony not paying attention and setting up the ceremony at a store called The Aquarium rather than the Shed Aquarium. This is one of those situations where, in real life, someone should have caught it, but in Chicago Fire, there's always a narrative twist that prevents the most important developments from happening as planned. It turns out that Brett is not being fired. Rather, Brett and Casey's wedding is being disrupted. The main subplot in On the Book is closely related to Brett's situation, as Derek Gibson is visibly affected by basketball player Jared's injury, as does Marcus, the young man who collided with Jared after he collapsed. For the majority of the hour, Gibson remains silent, even snapping at Sam Carver when he attempts to initiate a post-shift talk with him. Carver becomes suspicious when he notices Gibson speaking with one of the hospital's nurses. Gibson eventually opens up to Carver, and the two pay a house visit to Marcus, during which Gibson tries to persuade the young man that he is not responsible for whatever happens to Jared, who is expected to recover completely. This is all coming from someplace, and it's unnecessarily embarrassing, but also startling when Gibson tells Carver, "I killed a man." But Chicago Fire fans now understand why Gibson is angry and defensive, making him more relatable. The scene in which he discusses the meaning of that quote with Carver over drinks. One of his boxing opponents, Marty Johnson, died during their battle, is another example of the Dick Wolf series adding more mental health topics, as well as Roan Flynn's best work on the program. But is that enough to win over Gibson's fans? Many One Chicago characters have traumatic backstories, but the found family motive is especially prevalent on Chicago Fire. Thus, he remains on the periphery of it. At the very least, this is a starting point. On a related point, Jake Lockett has been delivering consistent performances as Sam Carver since season 11. Will producers eventually raise Lockett to series regular status, especially now that the program has established him as Violet's next love interest? Other recurrent cast members have been elevated with less to do, and Carver appears to be staying put. Every Chicago Fire episode contains a comic subplot, which usually involves the main supporting characters. In On the Hook, 2 parts involving Joe Cruz and Christopher Herrmann eventually come together, although neither generates more than a few giggles. Herrmann's plot revolves around finding a massage chair on the side of the road and trying to find a place for it at Firehouse 51, whereas Cruz is looking for a new idea to preserve the Slavigan business he founded a few seasons ago. Herrmann unashamedly crashes into the squad table while adjusting his chair, spilling coffee all over Cruz's vital business documents. While these stories serve the purpose of delivering some humor in contrast to Brett and Gibson's highly serious plots, they aren't as hilarious as other ideas the program has come up with in the past. These subplots typically include someone coming up with a wacky idea and Slash or someone else responding to something. This episode simply combines the two. Cruz's concern is even more cringeworthy because it is something many people complain about: corporations creating a new version that isn't genuinely new in order to sell more merchandise. Cruz saves Slavigan by rebranding it and adding some fire engine red paint. But how many viewers would be annoyed if they were in the customer's shoes? It's humor that stems from frustration rather than relatability. The funniest aspect of it all is Daniel Carey's comedic timing, as Darren Ritter is pulled into assisting Herrmann in moving his chair. Ritter ultimately gives up, which is hilarious because it's so relatable. Everyone has at least one buddy or coworker who drags them into something. On the Hook throws a curveball at Sylvie Brett fans, while also providing some vital truths about Derek Gibson, propelling both characters forward even though it isn't the best episode of Chicago Fire Season 12. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe my fast gossip to our channel, and stay with us.